Our next guest has been helping people hit their success goals for the last decade. Shiraz coaches you on how to rise out of your current circumstances and, most importantly, stay out. In his book, How to Rewrite Reality Has Changed Lives Across the Globe, he's going to show you how to identify where you're unknowingly addicted to many of the struggles in your life, how to break free of those addictions, and then create success easier and faster than ever before. Let's welcome Shiraz.
Thank you. All right. So, sorry. A little bit of cough. Okay. I'm just getting over the flu. So if I happen to cough every now and then, that's just what's happening. Although there will actually be intentional coughing coming up, and I'll explain that before the end of this. But that's going to be where we get to the real fun part. So I found that a single belief can change your entire reality. And I discovered this through experiences that happened to me back when I started in university. You see, I was studying to be a doctor in molecular genetics, and I was a bodybuilder at the time. And I know it's hard to tell I'm not a bodybuilder anymore, but I was. And the world was my oyster, except the world didn't give me pearls, it gave me arthritis. And I don't mean my shoulders kind of hurt arthritis. I mean intense pain in every single joint in my body. There were nights where I sipped my dinner through a straw because my jaw was so swollen and painful that I couldn't move it. And you may not have gone through this kind of physical challenges, but have you ever had that plan set out for what you want to do with your life, and then out of nowhere, bam, that plan is gone and you're left scrambling? Okay, then I feel you. And I tried all these things to get out of it. I tried medication, and don't get me started on child-proof caps for arthritic medicine. That's just wrong. I tried diet and supplements. I started doing yoga, meditation. Someone said magnets work. Nothing worked for very long, if at all. Until finally, after 18 years of this, I found out about this program in India called Combined Therapy. And I flew over to India. And because it was India, I expected to work with this guy, and he's going to do some sort of Reiki or energy healing on me. Go, come on, Shiraz, we're going to heal you. But that's not what happened. He just talked to me for 2 weeks, went through my entire life story. And it was like being with a psychiatrist, only he wasn't trying to solve anything. He was just gathering all this information. At the end of it, he goes, Shiraz, you believe you're responsible for everyone in your life. I said, no, I don't. I said, oh, I know you don't think you do, but from everything you've told me, you've created this belief that you need to be responsible for everyone. I'm like, okay, I know I'm responsible. I don't think I'm responsible for everyone. That seems crazy. But what's this even got to do with arthritis? He said, oh, you don't want to be responsible for everyone. That's too hard. Yeah. And if you're lying in bed in pain, you don't have to be responsible for anyone, and you don't have to feel guilty about it. If people see you struggling just to get through the day, they're not going to ask you to help them. The arthritis isn't the problem. It's the solution to the problem you're not looking at. So that's messed up. He said, but that's what most chronic illnesses are, solutions to problems people don't realize they have. So I said, okay, if what you're saying is true, then all I have to do is say, I'm not going to be responsible for anyone but me, and the arthritis should just go away. He said, yes, if you believe it deep down. So I gathered my will and I said, I'm not going to be responsible for anyone but me. And you know what happened in that moment? Nothing. But when I woke up the next morning, there was no pain. There was no inflammation. I had more mobility. I could even breathe better. I'm freaking out because it's been 18 years of trying this and that and this. And then this guy says, stop being responsible, and it goes away overnight. That's crazy. But here I was. And there was a track where I was staying that I was on every day, just walking to try to get some semblance of being fit. And I'm doing this little old man shuffle. I'm bent over and I'm just trying to get there. And I feel like I've got the body of a 60 or 70-year-old person, except 60 and 70-year-old people are passing me on the track, which is really embarrassing me. But not today. Today I'm moving. I'm dodging people. I'm passing people younger than me. And they're looking at me going, what the hell? And I'm like, I know. And when I got home, no one asked me to be responsible for them. Because why would they? It's just a belief I had created when I was a kid, right? And the point here is we keep thinking we have these problems in our lives. But I've found out that every consistent problem you have is the solution for an emotional problem you're not seeing. And when you conquer the emotional problem, then the physical problem goes away. Right? And so when you get this, you're not going to be asking, why is this happening to me? You're going to ask, why do I want this to happen? And that's when the answers can start to pop up. Now, what has this got to do with being an author? Well, if you have a problem that you can't get your book done and you keep getting distracted, or things can't keep coming up, then you don't actually want to get that book done. Right? So you have to figure out why you don't want to get that book done. And one of the reasons I found is that a lot of authors are worried about bad reviews when their book comes out. Right? What if someone says it sucks? What if a whole bunch of people say it sucks? Well, you can't get bad reviews if you don't have a book. So it looks to you, though, that, oh, I just got busy, or I got sick, or another priority came up. We had some financial problems. I had to tackle that. But it's really, no, this way I'm safe from this emotional impact of, oh, people don't like my book, even though it may not happen. I worked with an old business partner. We actually got hired to do a 20-minute short for the G.I. Joe movie when it came out. So we had this short where we're using the dolls, and it was basically like stop motion. Half the time it was our hands moving the dolls around and stuff. And this thing went on YouTube, and hundreds upon hundreds of comments. Better than the movie. Oh my God, this is hilarious. These people really know G.I. Joe, right? And because we were big fans. In that were a dozen, maybe 24 comments. This sucks. Can't believe Paramount paid for this. You guys need to get a real job. And my business partner freaked out. Okay. How do we turn off these comments? How do we get them out of there? We're like, it's Paramount's channel. We can't do a damn thing. And he's like, but they can't say bad stuff about him. Like, they're entitled to their opinion. He was livid. And keep in mind, hundreds and hundreds of people were saying this is amazing. But just those few dozen, that was just too much for him. So when G.I. Joe 2 came out, Paramount came back to us, said, can you do it again? He told them no. He didn't say, well, I don't want those bad comments. He's like, well, I'm really busy now, and they're not offering enough budget this time. And I'm listening to him give the excuses, and I can just see it in his face. He can't deal with the negativity. And here's the thing. It's your choice what emotions you're going to feel. You think that you just respond in a certain way, and everyone would feel that way. No. You can decide what emotions you're going to feel. And if he had decided, you know what, if people give bad comments, I'm just like, well, that's their opinion. We would have had that second deal with Paramount, which would have led to another and another. But because he decided he had to be pissed off, he had to be hurt, he had to feel a certain level of shame, he cut off all contact with Paramount. When you want your book to come out, there's going to be people that are going to love your book, and there's going to be people that hate your book. That's just the way the world works. And the way I look at it is, I'm doing my book, I'm running my business, and if for every 1,000 people that hate me, I mean, that love me and love my work and want to support my work, one person hates me, then I want 1,000 people hating me, because that means 1,000,000 people love what I'm doing. But when we look at it just at the numbers, it stops us. When you get your book out there, there's going to be all this stuff that's involved, and a new world you're going to be into. And like Sean said, the unknown is so scary. Your mind will choose staying exactly where it is, even if the situation is horrible, over going to a place that's unknown. So one thing you can do to prepare for this journey is to start visualizing what it's going to be like on the other side when your book is out there, when you're signing copies and giving them out, when you're on stage speaking about it, and get into the joy of that. But here's the secret, and saying the secret. If you've ever seen the movie The Secret, they talk about visualization and feeling the thing as it's already happened. One thing they miss out there is that you have to do this in real time for periods of 30 seconds or more. Okay, because then your mind thinks, I'm actually doing this. And if your mind thinks that I'm actually doing this, it starts building memories of you doing this. You get comfortable doing that and being that person, and you start to act as though you're that person. Because your mind doesn't care if it's real or imagined, it treats everything as real. But it gets that, well, if I only thought about it for 3 seconds, it probably didn't happen. Right? But if I'm in there for 30 seconds or more, imagining it, feeling that presence on stage, talking about the book, holding it up, having the audience go, oh my God, where do I get a copy? Then your mind thinks that's real. And it starts rewiring your neural pathways so that you start becoming that person. Right? Most people can hold a thought for 7 seconds at most. Okay. But the attention span is of a goldfish. Right. People that do YouTube ads, you've got 5 seconds to get someone's attention, right? Because that's how easily people get distracted. So when you can hold them there, like if you've ever watched the YouTube ad that holds your attention for more than like that, you didn't skip that video, that's the kind of pull you want in your own visualization. That's like, oh my God, this is engaging. I want to stay in this. I want to be here and just live this life. And you'll start to see it affects you in your actual life. And this happens with success. This happens with the amount of money you have. This happens with your desire to write. This happens with physical fitness. Right. I was in Cancun in April, and the pictures came back, and I saw how big my stomach had gotten. I'm like, when did I put on that much weight? I didn't see, because you're looking at the mirror and you're always looking straight on. You're not looking at the side view. And I'm like, okay, so I have to change this. So I go for walks every day, and so on my half-hour walk, I would actually be visualizing a half hour in the gym in real time. After about a month, I started craving actually working out, because in my mind, I've been working out for a month. And then also, because I'm imagining the body I want, I started craving less sugars, more vegetables. Like my whole eating habit changed. I hadn't actually done anything yet. My body started to change, because your mind takes everything as true. It even fires the muscles of what you're doing. So now I work out regularly. I've gone down 2 notches on my belt. I put on more muscle on up top, and I'm just like, wow. But it was never, I have to force myself to do this. I just went for a walk each day with visualization. If you're having problems writing your book, you can visualize yourself joyfully writing the book, the feeling after you've finished that chapter. And then eventually you can be like, man, I write every day. I need to start writing, because you're in there. So I've actually gone through 2 points, and I don't think I defined the 2 points. Number one, remember that every consistent problem in your life is a solution for an emotional problem you're not looking at. So start looking at life differently. Number two, start training your brain for the results you want. And now number three is you are addicted to your current circumstances. You're addicted mentally and physically. And most people don't get this. And this is why I call myself a reality interventionist, because most people don't realize that there is an addiction there. So that when you try to get out of it, you go into withdrawal and you lose your results. Right? If you've ever gone to a workshop, a retreat, taken a course and seen results for a few weeks or a few months and then lost them, that's not that it didn't work. That's because you went into withdrawal. Has anyone ever had that experience? A couple people? Okay. And say, but it doesn't feel like withdrawal. It just looks like circumstances came up. And you chalk it up to that. But when you get that, then when you see that increase and then lose it, instead of saying, oh my God, I suck, I lost it, you say, oh, I got into withdrawal. Let me keep going. Let me keep moving out of that addiction. Right? You're also addicted to emotions. If you've ever read the book Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza, he goes into the science of this. Everyone has different emotions through the day, but we have a default emotion that we stay in most of the day. And for a lot of people, it's fear or frustration or anger. And so when you try to change your emotions and say, you know what, I'm going to start being a lot more happier or grateful or enjoy, there are receptors on your cells for the chemicals associated for your default emotion. So let's say it's frustration. Every emotion causes chemicals to go into your body in different amounts. So if you decide I'm not going to be frustrated, the receptors don't get those chemicals for frustration. They send a signal to your brain to say, make this person frustrated. You get frustrated over something stupid. Your cells get their fix. They go, ah. Oh. You get frustrated because you're frustrated. Your cells get another fix. They go, ah. Oh. And then you're like, oh my God, I'm back to being frustrated again. Because you're in withdrawal and your body is actually working against you. When you get this, you want to keep going to that new emotion, whatever you decide it is, over and over and over again until your cells realize we're not getting the chemicals for frustration. We're only getting the chemicals for happiness. Well, we're going to change those receptors. So now they receive happiness chemicals. And now you're addicted to happiness. So that when you do get frustrated, your cells will go, hey, that's not right. Send a signal up, make this person happy. And then you get happier again. I'm addicted to laughter. There's a reason for me to laugh every single day. It always comes up because I'm wired for that. Right? Would you like to be addicted to laughter? Would that be a good thing? So using this information, these techniques, you can start to change your reality. And when you start realizing that you can do this and you decide what you want to change it to, it's going to start showing up in your life. You can use this to get your book done. You can use this to get your book more popular. It seems weird because it seems like you have to use techniques, but when you do this, you'll naturally find ways to get your book into people's hands. Right? Earlier today, Deb Drum was talking about always have the book with you. I always have my book with me. And people have this running joke because on multiple occasions, I've had this book while I'm traveling, and I'd be sitting at the airport waiting for a flight, and I end up talking to someone, giving them my book, and I've landed tens of thousands of dollars in sales because of handing this book out to people. Right? So always keep it up. But now, this is the cool thing, is when you get that story running, you get addicted to that story. When people say that story back to you, that further anchors the addiction. So people keep saying Shiraz keeps selling his course and his programs at airports with his book. So now when I'm at an airport, it just pops up, yeah, I should probably talk to someone about my book. I'll hand my book to someone, right? And the program I sold, it cost $20,000 now, but last year was $10,000. I had 3 sales from just having a conversation at an airport and then giving them my book, right? So you can make a lot of money when you're talking to the right people and giving the book. Now, you don't always have to give the book away. Some people are going to say, always give it away. It's a calling card. When I'm at events, I will sell the book. It's my spending money when I'm traveling. And I'm constantly recommending my book. So just 2 days ago, I got a royalty check for $450. It's for the last, 8 months. So it's not a huge amount, but it's nice that every now and then these royalty checks just show up. And I'm like, okay, I'm just doing my thing because I'm constantly promoting my book, talking about my book. And, I'm making a horrible mistake right now. And this is one thing that I just learned recently is I keep saying my book. Don't say my book. Say the title of your book. So whenever I'm out, I have How to Rewrite Reality. I'm always handing out How to Rewrite Reality to people so that you're saying the name of the book over and over again. So it's anchoring into people's heads. Right. So we are coming up on half past the hour. I know we have an hour, and I would like to do a little bit of a workshop if you guys are okay with that. So in what I do, I have conversations with people. And when I talk to you, I can tell when your conscious beliefs match your unconscious beliefs. Whenever they don't, I'm going to let you know. So you may say, you know what, I really want to have my book out there and I want to make lots of money off it. And I may say, no, you don't. And I'm not trying to tell you you're a liar. I'm telling you that what you consciously think doesn't match what you unconsciously think. So if people are brave enough to have these conversations with me, we're going to dig down and find out what the underlying story is as to why you don't want your book to be out there. When we get to it and identify it, I'm going to say, are you willing to step out of that story? If you say yes, and you mean it, you're making that declaration, yes, it shifts. We're actually rewiring your neural pathways in that moment. Right? And when that happens, there's also this accompanying shift of energy. And this is where I talked about the coughing earlier. When energy shifts, I tend to yawn and cough. So I'm going to be doing that for the next little while. if you've ever done this kind of work, you may know how it feels in your body, but the most common thing for people is a yawning or a feeling of energy, a tingling in the chest and a release. But you could get hot, you could get cold, you could have a muscle twitch, you could burp, anything can go, or you might not feel anything. But that's how the process works. And this is how, just another quick story, just how powerfully this thing can show up. Like recently, I got into a program where my coach said, let's offer a $100,000 program to your clients. And I'm just like, a what? A what? How much does it cost? And he said, $100,000. He goes, but they don't pay the $100,000. They pay an initial installment. And as you get them results, they pay from the money they make from the results. So they just keep going with you until they reach that $100,000. But at the end of it, they've made $1 million. Do you think people would pay you $100,000 to make $1 million? I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense, like financially. And he said, do you think they'd be more inclined to pay if they only have to pay when they get results? And I'm like, uh-huh. So we designed this program and I got it ready. And I talked to several people to make sure that it was something people wanted to buy. And I'm like, okay, but then I didn't start selling it. I kept meaning to, but I just didn't. And so my coach is like, don't you want this thing to sell? Don't you want to do like 7 figures in business? I'm like, absolutely. But then I realized, no, I wasn't telling the truth. So I had to work with someone else because everyone else sees your stuff way better than you do. And it turned out, well, what if I don't get them to 7 figures and I feel like I'm disappointing them? Right? I don't want to feel like I'm disappointing people. So I had to let go of that belief that that's how I was going to feel. 2 days after I let go of that belief, I closed my first sale. A week after that, I closed my second sale. 2 weeks ago, I closed my third sale. 3 days after that, I closed my fourth sale. Now, remember, they're doing an initial installment, so I haven't closed $400,000 in cash right now, but I've done 4 sales of a $100,000 program after shifting a single belief. So the program helps women coaches get from 6 figures with inconsistent income that shows that they're in an addiction, and it takes them to 7 figures in 2 years. So that's the thing I offered, and now people want it. It's crazy. So think about what that can mean to your business if you pull out these beliefs and suddenly your business is doing well, your book is selling, you're actually finishing your book if you haven't, and it's all just flowing up, because that's what happens in my life now that I've learned these techniques. So would anyone like to get work done? I see no hands going up. Great, Nancy. You have to give me some indication. Everyone's just
so. I think you may need to speak or unmute yourselves and speak so that he can see you. Yeah. I saw hands going up everywhere. Shiraz.
I didn't. I just saw people sort of like kind of nodding, but not really. So I saw Nancy first.
Yeah, I saw Nancy first. Nancy, you go first.
Okay, I have to go first now?
Yeah. Now here's the cool thing, is that when I'm working with Nancy, please stay muted when I'm working with Nancy. But if I say, okay, this is the story, are you willing to step out of that story? If you've got that same story, you can say yes. And it's going to shift for you, because I'm not the one doing the shifting. I'm getting you to the belief that needs to be shifted. I'm asking, are you willing to step out of that story? So if everyone has a similar beliefs, and in any room, there's always going to be more than one person that has the same beliefs, it shifts for everyone. Okay, so Nancy, what are we working on?
We're working on that I have the misbelief, or I'm believing that I can't really afford to. I believe that I can't support myself with my business.
Okay. Do you want to support yourself with your business?
Yes.
That's not actually coming up true. Okay. Yeah, and this is where you think it's like, my belief is I can't do it, but the actual belief is I don't want to. Do you have to work hard to make money?
Yes.
Okay, so that's a problem, right? And this is a common belief. You have to work hard to make money. How do you expect money if you don't work hard? No, you don't. You have to be willing to work hard. I'm willing to work my ass off. I will work a 14-hour day if I have to. I'm also willing to sit on my ass and have money show up in my bank account, and everything in between. But we get taught you have to work hard. We get taught if you don't work hard, you don't deserve it. Like, you're getting that one. Okay. So are you willing to step out of that story that if you don't work hard, you don't deserve the money?
And I'm saying no. It's
You're
like
resisting
I
that
want
big time.
to. I want to, but it's like I can't.
Why can't you? What's wrong with not working hard into getting lots of money?
I see everyone in my family working very hard, and that was noble.
Yeah. That's their story, because that's what they were taught, which is what their parents were taught, which is what their parents taught. We are born as receptors for abundance, for wealth, for prosperity, for everything. But we are taught by people that came before us that no, you have to work hard to do it, right? You have to make sure you're deserving of it. But everyone is inherently deserving of it until we put all this stuff on top, right? We think we have to do things in order to have value, right? No, you don't have to do a damn thing to have value. Okay. And this may go against logic, but let me ask you, do you have kids?
Yes, two children.
Okay. So firstborn, what's the firstborn's name?
Garson.
Garson. So when Garson was born, you're holding Garson and you sat there and went, you haven't done a damn thing in your life. You're worth nothing.
No.
No. Did you feel the value coming off that kid?
Yes.
Because that kid hadn't been taught you have to earn a value. The kid naturally just expressed value. You were once that kid too. Okay. So I want you to get this. When you realize that you already have all the value, and what you do is how you express the value. Everything you're learning is just different ways to express value that's already in you. So it's not that you do to get value, you do to learn how to express value. And you don't have to do to express value. It's like a baby. You can just get into a state where I'm just going to be here. And people will pay to be in the room with me. And you know this is true because there are people you will pay to be in the room with, aren't there?
Yes.
Yeah. And they don't have to do a damn thing. You just want to be in the room, don't you?
Yes.
So that they've just got to that level. I want you to get to that level too. All right. I know there are people now that will pay to be in the room with me. It has happened on multiple occasions. I've had clients that just sent me extra money because they said, I just love you. Here's some extra money. Right? So I'm completely out of, I have to work hard to earn money. Right? It's this, that you're trying to honor your family's story, not realizing that they had a crappy story to begin with. It worked. It got them through things, but it could have been a lot easier. So are you willing to step out of your family story that if you don't work hard, you don't deserve money?
Yes, I'm trying. I'm trying. And what's so interesting that you brought up the word value, because value has been so key to, am I giving enough value?
But you are the value.
I am the value.
Yeah. We'll try it again. Are you willing to step out of the story that you have to work hard? Let's change it slightly. Are you willing to step out of the story that you have to work hard in order to have value?
Am I willing? Am I willing? Can I do this? Am I willing? I think I should say I am willing, not that I can. I am willing to.
There we go. Are you willing to step out of the story that you have to do things in order to have value?
These are so deep rooted.
Uh-huh. Oh, I don't start shallow. We just go.
Am I willing? I want to be willing, so I am willing. I want to be willing.
Okay, I don't want you to want to be willing. I want you to be willing. We're gonna go like, it's that wanting to be willing is like trying, and we go to Yoda, do or do not. There is no try. So are you willing to step out of the story that you have to do something in order to have value? So I can feel where your mind's going to. Well, then I won't do anything. No, you will, because you'll want to. You'll want to express that value.
I'm
You
willing.
end up giving way more value when you don't have to, because have to has no choice. Have to is a responsibility. It always feels heavy. Get to is like, oh, yeah, I get to do this. I get to hang out with these people and give value to them. I get to do this. And, and I also get to just sit around, and it's still going to cause money to show up in my life. So are you willing to step out of the story that you have to do something in order to have value?
Yes.
There it is. Okay. Raise your hand if you're getting a shift out of that as well. Okay. Cool. How's that feel, Nancy? Better, worse, the same, or different? There's no wrong answer.
Yeah, I felt a release. It really is. It's leaving a huge burden behind.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now the caveat: there's an addiction. We've pulled you out. You have to continue to do this work or work similar to this to stay out of the addiction and make this your default. Okay. I look at it like a Jenga tower. We've pulled blocks out of a Jenga tower, but we don't know which blocks. We may have pulled out the key ones that cause the Jenga tower to fall, which means the addiction's gone. But more than likely, we've just pulled enough out to cause a change in your life. And if you don't continue doing the work, you'll start putting blocks back in so that it's nice and solid and comfortable like it used to be. Okay, cool. All right. Anyone else want to go? We have some time left. Dr. Doreen Downing.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Nancy. That was beautiful. I love the have to versus the get to. So that was when you asked Shiraz about the shift, I felt that too. I have that story. But what I'd like to do is not about books. Is that okay? It's about my weight.
Sure.
Okay, I had a lot of fun. Key lime pie, blueberry cobbler, cherry pie, all summer long. COVID, I could blame COVID, but it's like 30 pounds. Do I want to lose weight? Yes, but I must not, because it's so hard. I have to deny. I have to stop myself. I don't want to stop myself.
Okay. So are you willing to step out of the story that being on a diet means denying yourself?
Okay, that I see what Nancy, where she got that first time. It's just like, I just can't believe it could be anything other than no, you can't.
Yeah. So here's the thing: when I've been losing this weight, because of the shift in mindset, I look at chocolate and I'm like, oh, I don't want it.
Yeah.
And I'm not denying myself. I'm like, no, I don't want it. I'd rather have this.
Yeah.
So I'm not in a place of denying at any time. I'm like, ooh, this looks really good.
But I have to tell you, when you said chocolate, my mouth started watering.
Oh, yeah. Well, because you're not there yet.
Addicted.
Right.
Okay. All right.
All right. And just so we can make sure, like, so when I'm doing this, we're talking about an addiction to something. So for the people that want to make this in a different context, if it's not about losing weight, if it's about the book, why am I not writing those chapters of the book? What am I addicted to that video game rather than chapters of the book? See, apply this to the context that works for you. Okay. So let's start this again. Are you willing to step out of the story that in order to lose the weight, you have to deny yourself?
Yeah, the second time when you ask it, it gets a little looser. So
yeah, that's why we go through that process.
yeah, it's not just it's like I start to feel the willingness, like what I noticed what Nancy did.
It's so much easier when
it feels like a little bit more of a freedom,
a
little more breath, a little more ease to be in this world without a constant thing going on.
The chatter.
Yeah. Food. Anyway, that's what just came out.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
You ready?
Mhm.
Are you willing to step out of the story that if you want to lose weight, you have to deny yourself?
Yeah. 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 I'm willing to step out of my story, the story about denial. And I just went deeper. I know what it's about. It's denying love. It's grandma. All those cakes and pies are my grandma. Mama, my grandma. Yeah. Yeah.
So are you willing to step out of the story that denying those treats means you're denying love?
Ooh, you just took it there, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's sad. That's sad. Ooh, that's emotional.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like I said, it's always an emotional impact
Wow.
that you're trying to avoid. It's never
Ooh.
physical.
Yeah, you're right. You got it. Thank you. Am I willing to step out of the story that denying myself food means I'm denying myself love? Oh, I am love. I am love. You were in my training earlier today. I talked about being love. So
Yep.
I know love. Yes. I've connected with the beingness of love.
Okay. I want you to get this, because this is what happens to a lot of people. I've asked you the question, you keep talking and distracting yourself without actually shifting. That's your
Uh-huh.
subconscious at work saying, no, I'll just do this. And so then we don't actually have to do anything.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you again, are you willing to step out of the story that denying treats means denying love?
Yes.
Ooh, there we go. Much better. How's that feel?
Yeah. Yeah. Sweet. Not sweet.
There we go. You can have the sweet without eating. Look at that. No denial.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
everyone.
All right. Anyone else? We can do one more before I can wrap it up here. Any brave souls? Brian.
I'm really afraid to do this, but I'm so impressed with what I've just seen you do. So
Thank you.
here I go.
Okay.
I don't feel worthy to be prosperous.
Hmm.
Opportunities come, and I feel like I don't deserve to be making the kind of money that I should be prospering.
Okay. Who taught you that?
I think I learned it as a kid.
Mhm.
My parents were very, very thrifty and my dad went through some health concerns, was unemployed for about 5 years. We learned to do without, but I've had prosperous times. I've had times where I've actually been, unafraid to say, yeah, I deserve to make value. And sometimes it was from working hard. And sometimes it was just from, being in the groove of loving what I was doing and being well compensated for it. But something has shifted and I am not sure what. All I know is I find myself struggling with that.
Okay. Are you willing to step out of your family story that you have to learn to do without?
Yes, I am.
When you're not prosperous, you still make everything work correctly, correct? With the finances.
Yep.
Are you proud of how well you can manage that budget?
Yes, with a caveat.
Okay.
My wife does the books for our family.
Yep.
And she is very mathematically minded. She's a math teacher. She does a wonderful job of keeping the books. My focus is always on just making sure that there's enough, to cover the expenses that we need.
Yeah. That's the problem. Okay. Because your focus isn't on creating prosperity. Your focus is on making sure there's enough to cover. This is a completely different mindset than this. So when you start thinking about how do I prosper, it solves this. But as long as you're focused on, is there enough? That's all you're going to create. The other thing is there's two energies of pride, or not exactly, okay, one energy of pride and one energy of caring. So there's a certain amount of pride that we can make this work with this amount. But there's also, I'm so proud of my wife, there's a caring of my wife that she manages all this and makes it work. If you suddenly start making lots of money, then you lose that source of pride of I'm making enough to make it work. And you can feel that I'm taking away meaning from my wife because I'm so proud of how she makes this work. And now she doesn't have to really think about it because we have more than enough money for anything. So where you are feels good emotionally, not physically, right? It's just
True.
So are you willing to step out of the story that if you make lots of money, you're going to take away value from your wife? There's a lot of resistance coming off you right now.
Yeah, that's a big shift. I didn't realize how entrenched I was in that story. Could you please say it one more time? Just let me hear that one more time.
Just keep in mind, when you have lots of money, she's still going to do her thing, but it's actually going to be easier for her. It's going to put her more at ease while she'll still have her value. You're not taking that value away from her. So are you willing to step out of the story that if you make lots of money, you're taking value away from your wife?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And are you willing to step out of the story that if you make lots of money, you won't have a sense of pride of managing money?
Yes. Yes, I am.
That belief keeps so many people stuck in struggle. Right? This, because at the end of the month, it's like, I managed to pay all the bills. It was tight, but I got it. But there's just that pride. And so you got to keep doing it over and over and over again. Okay.
I feel a burden lifted.
Yay.
Just in confronting that and acknowledging it. That's very powerful. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So this is what I do. This is what I recommend everyone does in some form in their lives. I have a program called Monthly Magic where we work monthly to keep this going and create magic for you. I want you to get this. You guys had some shifts. We may have pulled that proper Jenga block out, but more than likely you want to keep doing the work. There are techniques and stuff and answers in How to Rewrite Reality if you want to look that up. But at the very least, stay in that mindset of any consistent problem that's showing up in my life is a solution, so you can start percolating what is the solution, right? And when you start owning everything, life just becomes more magical. Every time something great happens, well, I created that because I wanted that to happen. Every time something is awful, well, I created that because I wanted that to happen. And then the answer pops up. I actually, my friend and I, we usually go for a movie once a month, and the movie theater is 2 minutes away. But they had an 80s movie revival night at another theater that was like 40 minutes away. And I said, let's go see those movies. And so, yeah, we'll go do a double feature. We started heading to his car because he usually drives. And he's like, what are you doing? I said, well, we're getting in your car. And he goes, no, we get in my car when it's 2 minutes away. We're going to take your car if it's 40 minutes. This is your idea. I'm not driving that. Okay. So we got in the car. We start driving. 5 minutes into the ride, every warning light on my dashboard starts to come on. And I'm like, what the hell? And it's so bright. He looks over, what's going on there? I said, I don't know. My car seems to be having a seizure. So he's like, well, let's get home so we don't get stranded. So we drove back home, got into his car, saw the movies, came back. Next day, I had my car towed into the shop, $1,000 to repair the car. And when I told him that, he laughed. He goes, wow, you really didn't want to drive to that movie? I went, oh my God, you're right. I was willing to spend $1,000 not to drive to the damn movie. Like, I own it 100%. Because if you own everything, you can change everything. If other things aren't your fault, you're a victim and you can't change it. I want you to be able to change any aspect of your life. And when you do, you'll watch the changes. I've done $500,000 in sales this year because of shifting these beliefs, right? I'm on track to $1 million for the end of the year. I didn't even find out these beliefs until 2 years ago. I was stuck at 100,000 for decades until I found out I had this story that when I was a teenager, a whole bunch of my family and friends said, you're going to be making so much when you're working, you're going to have the house on the beach, you're going to travel the world, and we get to come hang with you and travel with you. And I'm like, oh my God, they're all going to leech off me. So 100,000 was comfortable enough so I could live well, but they can't come all start showing up and leeching off me. I let go of that belief. The next year I doubled my income, and this year I'm already at 500,000. That one belief was holding it in place. This is what's happening to you if you're not making the money you have that you want, if you're not getting the opportunities you want, if you're not in the health you want. It's always an emotional distress that you're not seeing. That's what I wanted to really drive home to you guys today, and I hope it sank. And I'm so pleased that some of you had some shifts. And that's it for me. I'm Shiraz. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was very, very eye-opening. All right, we've got a couple of minutes. Are there questions? Anybody have questions or comments for Shiraz? Thank you, Sean, for your grabbing little tidbits. If you look in the chat, he's kept kind of a running, just a total of some wonderful nuggets of wisdom there.
Thanks, Sean.
I have a quick question.
Yep.
Is it a thing to pick up other people's habitual perspectives?
Yes.
Like just being around them, that you start to look at the world the way that they do?
Absolutely. That's why they talk about you're the average of the 5 people closest to you. Right. So if the people around you don't have the values you want, start hanging out with other people, because you're going to swap stories.
Okay. And so if that happens, that's not necessarily an option to not spend time with certain people. How do you process?
Option. Okay. So number one, it's always an option. It's a story that it's not an option. Okay. When you're willing to let go of that story, the options will start to appear where they weren't before. The other thing is, when you notice you're in someone else's story, you can say, oh, this is not my story. I'm stepping out of it. Just like here. Okay. Don't need me to do that. When you realize what the story is, you can just say to yourself, I'm stepping out of it. Yeah. So here's the thing. You want to be willing to let go of anyone or anything holding you back or keeping you stuck. And when you step into this new space of who you are, a bunch of them will come back. I've had friends that disappeared for a while and then they just showed up again. But there's some people that they don't belong in my world anymore. Right. And remember, here's the thing. A lot of people don't get this. Have you heard the expression, blood is thicker than water? Right. So many people live by blood is thicker than water. Do you know what the full expression is? The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. It means the relationships we make going through life are more important than the family we were born into. It's the exact opposite of what people think it means.
And did you see Sean's question too? Where's the best place to buy your book so you get the most money?
I just have it on Amazon, so send it there. I'm happy to take your money. Receive it. Thank you so much.